Alright guys, so I am going to be doing a giveaway. It's going to be a John MacArthur study Bible. So if you'd like to get a chance at winning the study Bible, please leave a comment down below and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And be sure to share this with a friend. Thank you. Before I forget, the giveaway will be announced, or the giveaway winner will be announced on next week's episode. Thank you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Believer's Path podcast. My name is Jeremy. And today we're going to be talking about how to trust God during uncertain times. And today we're talking about something we all deal with at some point, which is trusting God, especially when life feels uncertain, which for me is a lot of times. We all might be making or facing big decisions, right? If you're facing them, you got to make it at some point. Now, you might just be going through a tough season. Whatever it is, you can trust God during it, right? So, a part of my story, I've been to prison before. I've never told, I think I've told part of the story, but not like the whole thing. Not yet, at least. That will be coming soon. I want to say sometime this summer. And obviously, I'm not going to film it in here. Eventually, I'm going to start filming somewhere that looks a lot more professional. But yeah. Anyway, back to the topic. Our key verse for today is going to be Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 6. Well, 5 and 6. It's not through 6. It's only 2 verses. This verse reminds us that we're not meant to figure everything out on our own. God wants us to rely on Him. So today we're going to talk about why trusting God can be difficult. How to grow in trust and practical steps you can take to strengthen your faith. So, without waiting any longer, let's get started. So let's go and read Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. And it says this: "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." Alright guys, before I forget, it is coffee time. Don't forget your guys' coffee. Let's go. All right, so let's be honest. Trusting God isn't always easy, even as believers. Me being a believer myself, it's sometimes hard to trust God. You can't physically hear Him, but you can hear Him, right? When He talks to you. Sometimes when He tells me to do something, it's very hard to trust what He says. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody's probably going to experience that at some point in their walk with God. Here are 3 reasons I think and I feel that we find it difficult to trust in God. And the first one is we like to be in control. 2 Corinthians 5:7 says this. Did I not write it in my notes? But I got the Bible. So let's go to 2 Corinthians 5:7. Alright, 2 Corinthians 5:7, it says this: "For we live by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I'd say, and would prefer to be away." Wait, no. Okay. I kept reading past 7, so this is what verse 7 says. "For we live by faith and not by sight." So, when we live by sight, we're trusting on our own control, right? But when we live in faith, we're trusting in God's control. Okay? I'm trying to come up with an example, but I can't. We'll come back to that. The second reason is fear and doubt get in the way. We ask, what if things don't work out, or what if God doesn't answer my prayers the way I want? And that, if God doesn't answer the prayer in the way that you expected, then that wasn't His plan for you. And sometimes that's hard to accept, but God knows what's best for us. He created us. And sometimes we think that we know what's best for us, but we don't. Not all the time. The third reason is we forget God's faithfulness. When we focus on our problems, we lose sight of all the times God has already come through for us. And that was one for me in prison, you know. God's always come through for me in ways. But, you know, when I was in prison, I was like, man, why does he let me stay here? Like, why can't he just do something to get me out? Why can't he just have somebody bail me out? Or, you know, now that I was in prison, why can't he just have somebody... Why can't he have the president pardon me? But if it's not God's plan, it's not gonna happen. So with these three things, I wanted to know if you guys can relate to any of these. If so, don't worry. Trusting God is a journey, and He's patient with us. The good news is we can strengthen our trust in Him. Let's talk about how. All right, so 3 ways to strengthen our trust in God, and number 1 is going to be remember God's faithfulness, right? Psalm 77, verses 11 and 12 says this: I remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. I will consider all your works and meditate on all your mighty deeds. So that's going to be the, you know, I believe one of the most important steps is, you know, just remembering what God has done, and also keeping in mind that, you know, if He's not moving as quickly as you want Him to, He has better plans than what you're hoping for. Think about a time in your life when things seemed impossible, but God made a way. Maybe He provided when you were in need, gave you peace during a tough time, or answered a prayer in an unexpected way. And a challenge I encourage you guys is this week to think about times that God has come through for you, and write them down and then meditate on those. You know, that can be really helpful, you know, to remember what He has done. Number 2 is staying rooted in His Word. And so, you know, trust isn't always about feelings. It's about knowing who God is, and the best way to know Him is through His Word. And so let's look at Romans 10 verse 17. Verse 17. Consequently, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ. So, staying in His Word, right? It can be a challenge, right? You know, we all have families and jobs and, you know, hobbies, but we need to make time for God in our lives every day. And, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, hours a day. It could just be 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, or 10 to 15 minutes before you go to sleep. Wherever you can squeeze an extra 10 to 15 minutes in. And you don't have to carry around a physical Bible if you don't want to. Let's say if you want to do it over your lunch break at work, you can download the Bible app on your phone. And there's multiple ways you can get to the Bible, right? You got a tablet, a computer, laptop, phone. Pretty sure you might be able to do it on a watch now. Who knows? Another tip is find a Bible verse that speaks to your situation and memorize it. Let it be your go-to reminder when you start to worry. A great one is Isaiah 41:10, and let's look at that one. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Is this supposed to be 10 and 11? No, just 10. Okay. Lost without my notes. I need to start going over my notes like an hour before each episode, so I'm not going to constantly... Okay, step 3 is surrender to God daily. The final step in trusting God is just to surrender to Him daily. It's not a one-time thing. It's something we have to choose every day. You know, God might ask us to do something every day, and if we don't do it, we're not going to surrender to His will. Matthew 6:34 says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. You know, Jesus is saying take one day at a time. You know, if we start focusing on tomorrow or the next day, we're going to start stressing ourselves out, not staying focused on what we need to do for that day. A simple prayer you can pray every morning is this: Lord, I trust you with today. Help me not to worry about the future, but to focus on what you have done, or what you have for me right now. That would be a good prayer to start off with every morning, right? The more you practice surrendering your worries, the stronger your trust in God will become. If you're new in your faith, don't feel discouraged if trusting God feels hard. It is a process. Philippians 1 verse 6 says this: being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Jesus Christ. That means God isn't finished with you yet. He's still growing you and growing you spiritually every day. It is a process, and it's going to take some time. It's not going to be at the snap of a finger. When I first started reading the Bible, I didn't get better that same day. I still struggle today with some stuff, but God is helping me through that daily. All right, so before we wrap up, I want to challenge you this week to write down one way God has been faithful in your life. 2 is find a Bible verse that reminds you to trust Him. And 3, start each day with the simple prayer of surrender. I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you need to trust God with right now? Drop a comment or message me on social media. Thank you for tuning in today to today's episode, and I hope to see you guys again next week for episode 4.